I think the one thing that we've missed out in this whole event, which is important, is the mental part. See, like I know that when a woman tries to give birth and something happens, they go through another journey. Uh, any one of you can take. Any one of you can take that.
Bon appetit, enjoy your soup. And I don't know who'd like to take that. Yes, it is cramping, then you do a natural sound and you're informing them that you have a blighted over, that you have an early fetal demise. It's normally very, very devastating. And she looks at, where will I go back? Will my husband understand? I had already told my people in the office that I'm expecting. What will I tell them? They'll be looking at, oh, when are you going for your mat leave? So this is something we should embrace and make sure that we have the structured psychological counseling and the love that these women require. Absolutely. Anybody else who wants to weigh in on that a little more? Okay. Yes.
In your presentation, you had indicated there's a medicine, there's a drug called retrosome, and I've seen that drug is being used also for breast cancer. So I was just wondering, what's the relationship between retrosome and breast cancer and retrosome? Just for understanding. Thank you.
Yes, it's a hormonal modulator, and how it works is in breast cancer is chemoprophylaxis. It is sort of issues of cancer of the breast are mediated by hormones, so it normally curtails that. In other ways, when you're doing that, it also stimulates ovulation. So it's issues to do with hormones. That's how it does it. That's how it's used in breast cancer and also in fertility. Yes. No, it can't. It can't. It can't. It can't. It stimulates the protective hormones in breast cancer, and those particular hormones are the same hormones that are used in ovulation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Honorable Malion Ali Abdi from Nairobi County Assembly. I have a question regarding the girl child from my region where I come from. Um, a lot of people fear stigmatization when it comes to, what do you call, um, adoption. So maybe to enlighten, how do you incorporate um, what do you call this? No, and I'm talking about the organization that had hosted us here. How can you reach out to these less privileged in the northern part of Kenya? Do you have other places where you reach a girl child that fear stigmatization when it comes to their fertility? Thank you.
I believe that question is addressed to Fertility Kenya.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Wangi. My question goes to second presenter. You have machinani something, laparoscopy. So, what initiative are you taking, and is it that you're giving free services to the machinani people, or what initiative are you taking to address such issues in women who are within the marginalized areas, and also within the areas where they are not reachable to medical care? Another question is about NHIF. I heard it's now going to progress to another name. So my question is the name changing now, adapting the fact that women are going for NHR for what's called surrogate, not surrogacy, where you get a child through IVF. Yes, are they covering that? And the third and last question, you talk about laparoscopy. And you did give us the stages at which you can actually have laparoscopy if you have things like fibroids. Do they go with size? Do they go with, what are the parameters?
Okay, thank you so much. I'll start first answering your first question on laparoscopic machinery and if it's free. I honestly want to say that free is very expensive. Very, very expensive. So when we started laparoscopic machinery, this was initiative where we would go different hospitals, in rural setup, would operate. But that was not sustainable whatsoever. So we learned that the only way to provide sustainability was in two things: knowledge and training. Now, in terms of equipment, I think there are a lot of challenges here in healthcare that we cannot only start opening that can. But what we have found eventually is people who, have the right mindset and who wants to really uptake the technology. The, the value of minimal invasive surgery is nowhere compared to open surgery. And for us, what we believe is that the people who we felt would benefit from minimal invasive surgery were poor patients. Why so? Because these are patients who cannot afford the original antibiotics. These are patients who, especially women, for us gynecologists, who are providing daily living to the family. These are patients who, you want them getting, uphill and moving on. So it was not necessarily free, and that's the concept that we did not want to be adapted, because patients were calling and would ask, hey, when is that next surgery free? I mean, honestly, there's going to be cost to it. The question is, how can we make it available? How can we make it sustainable? Can we have the government adapt and procure equipment? And then the next thing that we'll do will be training. The more we have providers adapting or learning the skill, the more we are going to have the laparoscopy being accessible. The only challenge was not the cost. What we came to learn is that government, when they saw the value for it, they were willing to invest. The problem was only one, was the skill, and Dr. would actually agree with me. So we need to train more. Now, in terms of stages of fibroid, honestly, I think that's a little bit in more details. But yes, to some level, we can perform, and I say we can perform almost every surgery that is done in open surgery, apart from cesarean section, laparoscopically. But then you need to have someone who has the right skill and making the right decision. So there are some of those that cannot be done laparoscopically. Then you will have to have a conversation with your physician. Just because Dr. Njagi is here and Dr. Muragi is here and we're talking about these procedures, it doesn't mean that every other gynecologist in this country will be able to provide the same services. So choosing and selecting your provider is very, very important. Those I think were the two questions, if I did not miss something else.
Yes.
The ladies can use this. So about insurance, before we even go to insurance, just to add on what Dr. Njagi has said about the size of, I'm speaking from experience as a service receiver, not a service provider. Some fibroids cannot be, I don't know if they cannot be operated because they cannot be done laparoscopically because of the size or because of where they are located. I was told, like mine, I had to do open incision. That was like 4 weeks ago. I'm actually still recovering as we speak. So they had to do open incision because of the size. Apart from the size, how many there were so many. I got 37 fibroids, and also the location, the size, and the number. So not everything can be done laparoscopically. However, most of the things nowadays abdominally, like I said, in 2021, was it 2021? I also had a surgery, not fibroids, are totally different, and it was laparoscopic for things that people are actually going to do openly. I will not say what surgery for privacy business. So about insurance, the name has changed, yes, a lot has not changed about it. Of course, it's saying progressive realization. We know that health is a right in Kenya. However, it is progressive realization. Progressive realization means the urgent things will be looked into more than the non-urgent. Unfortunately, IVF or fertility treatment has never been considered urgent care, has never been considered emergency care or urgent care in this country, maybe because we have other things like malaria and etc. However, the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill specifically mentions insurance for IVF. So whatever is not mentioned in that bill has been mentioned in the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill, so that will cover most of that.
Thank you. There's a question here for Dr. Janet Mutinda, but there's a lady there who asked a question to Fertility Kenya. I don't know if it was captured by the representatives here. If you don't mind, I'd like you to ask that question again, because it might not be directed to any of the four here. It might be directed to somebody seated. And Cecilia and her team will respond to you. So please recap that question. Sorry to make you do that again.
Thank you. I was just asking about areas, northern Kenya especially, where stigmatization becomes an issue when it comes to child and adopting a baby, and even the IVF has become, I think, a myth or Islamically rejected. How do you do a counseling, or maybe do you reach out to those guys who have issues when it comes to infertility that even costing marriages to our communities? Do you have centers or anywhere that you refer to? These are the communities, the less privileged. Thank you.
Tasana. All right, Lynette will take that question. Sorry, let that question be answered. Then I'll ask Dr. Mutinda a question, then I'll come to you.
Regarding the question Mheshimiwa from the county has asked, we do not have centers, physical centers in our republic, but we all reach out to all our members. I'm sure you learned about Fertility Kenya, either through radio, television, or any other social media platform. We have patients from Marsabit. Currently, we have a lady who is traveling to Nairobi for her treatment and start the procedure of IVF. For those who want to adopt or are seeking services of adoption, we make references. We don't do the adoption, but we can make references when you want to do the adoption. For the counseling, we are not specialized counselors, but we make reference for our members and those who are willing to reach out to Fertility Kenya to be assisted to get counselors. Like Dr. Morage has said, he has been on a journey, and there are a number of our members who can attest to it. He has done several procedures on our patients, and it is through Fertility Kenya that we know our networking with our doctors and hospitals, we are able to assist. So if you have any issue, just see us, we'll direct you and get you the services you need from wherever you are. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question. You don't seem satisfied?
Maybe just in addition to what you mentioned, in empowering, there are two things that are very important: education and advocacy. That, I think, will change so much. I've had a privilege maybe to work in your community, and there are a few things which are very, very difficult. One is to change the culture and religion. These are very, very difficult conversations to have, especially with some of these patients. Don't quote me on this, but especially in terms of IVF, if you want to have ovum donor, religion says so and so. So if you do advocacy, to really change that, to fit in a certain setup, it might be very, very difficult. So these might be conversations that from where we sit in society might be very, very difficult to even start initiating some of these conversations. But advocacy and education is possibly thing that we might want to adapt to, head to solutions in that direction.
Thank you. I think, Mheshimiwa, you are satisfied, but in terms of advocacy and sensitization, our group has been going around to a number of counties, but because of financial constraints, we have not reached all the 47 counties. But there is that initiative that you're taking. It's only that we have not reached your county, but we hope with time and with your visiting and attending this, we shall be able to make arrangements for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Allow me to take 3 more questions so that we use the time we have well. So I'm going to read Dr. Mutinda's question. I'll take a question from this lady and the gentleman behind there. Dr. Jana Mutinda, you are a great lady and God bless you. I referred a couple to you, to your facility after we prayed and listened to their story. Here's my question. Why has it taken like 2 years for them to adopt a baby of their choice, and their choice gender in bracket? God bless New Life in Jesus' name.
Right, great question. It could be different things. I remember after the last the first fertility meeting, Cecilia actually sent 3 ladies to my office, and they came very heartbroken. I remember they cried, so we first decided to do the let's be pastor, let's be counselor, everything, and then said let's start this process. And one lady stuck through it, and right now is a proud mother of a child. The other 2 ladies, after 2 to 3 months, disappeared, and I have no idea what happened. So, when you decide to start this journey, I'd urge you to take every step without dropping the ball. Because once you start and you go, let's say, to an adoption agency, you get the documents, then you sit on those documents for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 months. You see, you're accumulating months, and then you will say it's taken me even 5 months. It's taken me 2 years. But maybe you are sitting on the documents. I know couples who started the process, and within 9 months, things happened and already had their twin boys. So number 1, please, when you begin it, follow through the process 1 day at a time. Don't drop a day, don't drop a week, don't drop a month. But secondly, this is a good problem that we now have in Kenya. For many years, we had children waiting to be placed in families. I'm really thrilled that now we have parents waiting. This week on Monday, I was sitting somewhere, and a friend from one of the adoption agencies came by, and then they got a call, and were talking loudly so I could hear what they were saying, and I think it was a new parent asking about adoption, and then they said, so if I come to your office now, will you give me a baby by December? And he says, no, there's a process. And then to keep expectations in the right check, he said, please plan for a year. Because you begin the process, there will be steps to it. Yes, you may be placed with a child, but remember there's also a legal court process, and nobody can time that for you. So yes, the process can take long if you dilly-dally, but number 2, even if you start the process, just so that you manage your expectations, please plan for a year. Right now in our home, we actually have documentations of parents who are waiting. And for me, I'm thrilled about that, because I'd rather it is a parent waiting than children who are stuck in a system waiting. And we've really gone out, even as an organization, we go out to companies, we go out to churches. The reason we're here tonight, because we are going out and just creating awareness. Something that was we've come from years. I know Millie was a lawyer before,
and very passionate about children, and this still is. But even when you are in Credo, and I know you know a lot of the adoption, I mean, we've come from a place where it was mostly foreigners. We've come from a place, I remember one time in our church, putting up a poster, and at that time, me and my husband were struggling with infertility issues. And I felt God say, break the silence. And so we put up a poster and said, if there's anybody here struggling with infertility, miscarriages, we want to start a 4-week session or 4-month session. I don't remember. Only 3 people came in hiding in our whole church. And nobody wanted to be known. But then tonight we've talked a lot about infertility, almost slanted to the female gender. It's not a female issue. It's also a very male issue. Sometimes the lady is okay medically and in all ways, but many men assume it's the lady. So I'm digressing a bit, but it can take even 9 months. As a foster parent, by the way, once you come in, sign up, you are vetted. You don't go to court, you go to the children's department. Once you're vetted as a foster parent, even in 3 months, you can be placed temporarily with a child. But even if you want adoption, please manage your expectations and put a year. I don't know if that suffices.
It does. Yes, I know that triggers also other questions, but allow me to manage the time we have well. So I'll allow this lady to ask a question, and the gentleman, our specialists, also are available, and I'm sure they can share their contacts for further engagement. Do you want to support this, the last question? Oh, a new question. Okay, all right.
It's on adoption. I would wish to ask, are there things that can disqualify you? Apart from the obvious ones, like maybe your home is not okay, are there other issues that can disqualify you? Also, when I come to adopt a kid, am I do I have a choice? Yes, I may say I want a boy or a girl, but will I get all the boys, then I put a finger on one, or how is it done? Kindly.
That's a hot question that
All right.
not good.
Okay, and let me just answer again. See, very quickly, the things that can disqualify, if you look at the list of who qualifies, if you reverse them, so if you're over 65, basically you're disqualified. If you're not of sound mind, you'll be disqualified. If you don't have a good record and you're not cleared with your certificate of good conduct, you'll be disqualified. So nothing about your salary, nothing about your house. If you're disqualified for your house, it's not so much that you'll be disqualified, you'll be put on hold, but there will be help. Maybe there's something about where you live, not about the bedrooms. It can just be one. Maybe there's a danger, there's something dangerous there, maybe some open sewer. You may be asked, could you consider moving to another, even if it's one room, somewhere that is safe? So anything that qualifies you, the reverse will disqualify you. All right, second question, can you come and you see all the baby and say this one? No, you can't. In fact, even in the previous act, you can't pre-select. You can't come to volunteer in a children's home, fall in love with a child and say, this one, hold him for me, I'll come and adopt him. That would be legal, all right? Now what we do at New Life, once you're cleared, and let's say you say you want a baby girl less than 2 years. Not every child in a home is free for adoption. Maybe there are different things going on. Maybe it's a child who had a case in court. We cannot free that child. We are not the ones who do the freeing of the child. So even though you see all these numbers I shared, not all those children can be given to you, right? Because you may come and say, I want this one, but there's a case going on in court, or maybe we've even traced the mother, and she's just playing hide and seek with us. And so we want to make sure we get to the place where, if Kabisa she doesn't want, then legally through the children's department, she will sign consent that you free that child. So what we do at New Life is once you've cleared, and you say you want a baby girl below 2, We don't force you. Usually you will send a picture and we look at the picture. Maybe we have two girls and we think, oh, this one, actually they kind of look alike. And I tell you for a fact, anyone you know who's adopted a child, I don't know how God does it, but they begin to look like each other, like the family, isn't it? And part of it sometimes is just that simple thing where we looked and we said, this family is very dark, and if you give them this very light child, or we've had a case of Caucasian and Indian couple, and I kept wondering, what will we do? And how would God have answered it, where a baby who came and was almost like a biracial or multiracial child. So we would tell you there are two girls, at least at New Life, we don't force you and say it's a must, it's a must. We'll tell you there are two girls, and for me I feel it's like falling in love. There are many guys, but there's the one you fall in love with, isn't it? And then you'll have to live with this child for the rest of your life. So why force you? So we'll tell you there are these two girls, and we'll have you maybe get to interact. And some people just see one and they know it's this one. But then in the process, as you're with us, you don't get the baby immediately that day. We give you at least 5 days where you come full days to bond with the child and to see if you bond. Day one, day two, some people will just say, there's something, I don't know, I really want, and it's also very traumatic for them. But something is not connecting. And I always tell them, relax, we will not disqualify you. But the day you see your baby, you will know, okay? So again, it's a process, and we'll guide you through it.
Dr. Matilda, 2 last questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Grace Kamau. I'm a human rights champion, and my question goes to any of the doctors. As a young person, I want to donate my eggs. So my question is, do you have any cons of my health in long term? And the second one is there age limit to egg donation as a woman? I do understand we are told we do have a biological clock, but with technology, I understand that our ages we can take longer as we continue our reproductive health. So my question still is, I have an age limit to donate my eggs.
Thank you very much.
Yes. In fact, now we have so many cases of people coming to donate eggs. Some feel they don't want you to donate at a certain age, so they donate and keep for themselves. Others, we even have many ladies calling us, sending messages and saying, Daktari, can I donate my eggs? Of course, some is for payment. Yeah, in fact, most is for payment. Yeah, university students and many people come over and say we want to donate eggs. We like eggs for, in very young ladies. We don't want, because you see something like from 35 years going upwards. The eggs quality decline, and therefore we want younger ladies in the 20s, but below 35 is acceptable. So there are banks that do that, so it is possible to do that. Consequences of? No, it doesn't. It does not affect you. Yeah, it does not affect you. Just in one business, but it does not affect.
Well, I think the question Ruby is trying to ask, what usually the process, and this is not my forte, so what we'll do is basically the process happens, when we say your ovary has a basket of certain finite number of eggs. So every month through a certain process of hormones that stimulate, so you're going to have a certain egg that is going to be recruited, and the process will happen whereby it's going to develop, and once it's developed to a certain stage, then ovulation will happen. Now, during pickup of the eggs, what happens is we stimulate you get medication to stimulate and recruit more than one eggs. Does that make sense? So therefore, you can actually do the math. So every time we superovulate you, we possibly have about 10 or 12 or name the number depending on how responsive your body is. And then we are going to extract them. So if let's say this year you come in and then you extract them because you're a college student, and I think that's what she's asking, then next year I think the economy is not too good, and the last year the business was too good, you still haven't made a decision, you want to have a family, then you come back again. I really don't know the criteria in terms of selection, and then possibly you do this at so many years, then you can almost tell what the consequences will be. And now you're 35 and I think I've settled, finished college, and now I need a job, I found this Mr. Hunk, and now we are ready to have a family. And then things don't happen. So there's what we usually call ovarian failure. Basically, menopause is ovarian failure. And we can have premature ovarian failure, and I'm not really preempting this will happen, but basically you have depleted the number of quality eggs that are in this basket. So yeah, that was the question. So if you're doing this, you have to really make your math a little bit right. As Dr. Ali has said, most will do it for monetary value without thinking about the consequences or future consequences.
Okay, I would have asked about me donating mine, but let's not go there right now.
Usually for men, just to mention, you never deplete.
Yes. You pay for it?
You never deplete. Me and you will talk, there's a movie I will comment you, and I think that would be very important. You might find yourself having about 400 children.
Thank you, Dr. Jagi. Final question.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paul. My question goes to Dr. Jagi. You have a case here whereby a lady comes in, have a combination of fibroids and endometriosis. What is the best treatment that you can offer? And after treatment, is there any possibility of recurring again, both fibroid and endometriosis? And finally, is endometriosis cancerous? Thank you.
Okay, maybe let me stand for this. Give me 3 minutes. Now, this was a misconception initially had. Remember I said there's very little data that talks about endometriosis in Africa. Because this is what was believed. African women have higher rates of having fibroids. So we carry fibroids, and the thought was, if you have fibroids, you don't get endometriosis. That's a really crazy myth. So we are actually finding women who have endometriosis and fibroids. And now this is double jeopardy because we've said fibroids can cause infertility and endometriosis can cause infertility. And just as Ruby has said, the fibroids, it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 100. And it can be different sizes, it can take any part of the uterus, just like Dr. Ali said. Not all fibroid will cause infertility, it's going to depend on the location and the size, that then can cause infertility. So, for endometriosis, therefore, we have different stages. When we say stages, it does not mean it's cancerous or it's malignancy. Unfortunately, endometriosis behaves like a malignancy or cancer, the way it's spread and how it actually behaves. So, not all patients who will have endometriosis will actually have infertility. So when you have advanced disease, let's say at stage 4, as the image that I showed you, which is affecting the fallopian tubes, it's affecting the ovary. So the mechanism of infertility can be different. Not that endometriosis will cause the same factors in terms of infertility. It can be tubal factor, this is Dr. Ali said, it can actually affecting the ovary and the quality of eggs and how they are able to function. Endometriosis, again, it can cause issues with receptability of the fertilized embryo implanting. There's something I didn't talk so much in details, and that is adenomyosis. When I said we have this tissue outside, they can actually invade the middle wall of the uterus. Now, that is really, really terrible. Because for endometriosis, we do surgery, we can actually remove that tissue, and then we can improve fertility. But for adenomyosis, which affect, it's very, very difficult to manage. And actually, that's what we are mostly finding. Most women, we are actually finding more have adenomyosis than endometriosis, or a combination of the two. Now fertility becomes a really, really big challenge. Because even if you do IVF, remember, IVF, it only bypasses one process: fertilization inside the woman's body. That's the only process that IVF surpasses. So it only addresses tubal fractures, period, nothing else. So if you have endometriosis, IVF is not going to sort out the issue. If you have fibroids, IVF is not going to sort out the issue. If you have issues with the ovary, IVF is not going to sort out those issues. Can endometriosis be cancerous? We have actually seen it. It's very less than 1%, whereby we have seen changes, especially the ones that affect the ovary. They have a tendency of becoming malignant, but it's usually not a concern that we have. The number is 0.something% of endometriosis, then advancing to cancer.
Asante sana. Please help me appreciate our presenters and panelists. Dr. Mutinga, Advocate Ruby, Dr. Njagi, and Dr. Ashira. Help me appreciate our panelists. Please be seated. Asanteni sana. Well, I promised that we'd have dinner immediately, but I'm being advised to just finish the business we have, then we can all have dinner. So I seek your indulgence for just a few minutes to have a few items on the program, then we will go for dinner. We have opportunity tonight to listen to two testimonies of people who've undergone fertility procedures successfully. But just before that, there's a poem by Professor Marion Mutugi, a commission of Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. She couldn't be with us tonight because she is under the weather, but she was gracious to put her poem on video. So we'll play that poem, then we move to the two testimonies. Okay, I am advised there's good news. I promise you that is not me. There's good news. And the good news is inspired by an ancient and legendary lawyer saying. It says that no matter what you're going through, eat fast. So ladies and gentlemen,
the media feted it as the wedding of the year. Everything was going well until 10 years later, there was no baby. I joined the infertility support group. Maybe here I would get help from those like me who understood my journey and my struggles. Here, it was the wedding of my dreams and more. The media feted it as the wedding of the year. Everything was going well until 10 years later, there was no baby. I joined the infertility support group. Maybe here I would get help from those like me who understood my journey and my struggles. Here, I had the good, the bad, and the ugly. One woman told how after a lengthy adoption process, she was told that, sorry, adoption is not for singles, yet she had been divorced due to infertility. I wondered why she didn't go to another country where laws allowed adoption for singles. Another woman talked of how she sought IVF, and she was told that it would cost her $10,000. At less than $1 a day, it would take 30 years of her to afford it. Is that the value of a baby? A third woman tearfully narrated how a gestational carrier implanted with her embryo changed her mind, refused to surrender the baby, and disappeared into the slums with her $5,000 and her baby. And then I wondered, who actually owned that baby? The most hilarious, yet so tragic, was one who narrated how a 48-hour power failure in the biobank destroyed her precious embryos and down the drain went the embryos, her savings, and her motherhood dreams. I wondered, who should she sue, the bank or the electricity company? Then there was this lady who explained how she bought a baby. Yes, bought. For $1,000, there was a clinic where single pregnant girls gave up their babies, and the clinic organized that a birth notification came up in her name. And then she said how she was arrested, charged, and imprisoned for baby theft. It's scaring to think that motherhood could leave one in prison. The solution was simple, another said. She allowed her husband to get another wife, who went on to have 10 children. Later, paternity tests showed that none were sired by her husband. Why did I think of this? And then there's this woman who said, forget conventional medicine or illegal deals. Go straight for traditional surrogacy. She told of how she had resorted to a traditionally acceptable arrangement, and now she was a female husband, happily married to a woman whose children were now hers. Initially, I thought it was lesbianism, but no. This was the first time I heard a woman marrying another woman, achieving motherhood, or was it fatherhood? I'm talking about ethics of infertility solutions. I'm talking about commercialization and commodification of reproduction. I'm talking about accountability in access to infertility treatment. For most people, the challenge is birth control. But for some, infertility is real. Infertility statistics tell us that about 12% globally is the prevalence of infertility. A meta-analysis of 47 demographic and health surveys showed that between 10 to 25% of women in Africa experienced infertility. This is about almost 200 million. And yet, it's interesting that the onus of infertility is placed on the woman despite medical evidence. For many, childlessness is a tragedy, resulting in a sense of failure, loss, stigma, exclusion, and often divorce. Oftentimes, there is unethical, psychological, or even criminal physical violence, nicknamed domestic violence. I wonder what's domestic about it. For most, where childlessness is real, the chances of being in a stable relationship is reduced. The social and financial status of the woman is threatened, and at times her very life. And yet, there are medical interventions. 85 to 90% of the infertile can be treated by conventional methods of medicine and surgery. 3% can be treated using IVF. So, is infertility a state of ill health?
Karibuni.
Habari ya jioni. Salimia pia kama mnaniona. Mimi naitwa Ada Shege. Ndio ni bibi yangu. Naitwa Grace George. Sasa tumeniona
Kutoka kwa muda mrefu bila kupata mtoto. Najaribu kumfukuza aende kwa Yohana mtoto. Mtu nikaa almost 5 good years ana mtoto. Jirani ananiambia wewe bibi yako unafanya unatumia kama dawa ya protein. Mfukuza arudi kwa wao mwingine. Lakini kwa familia mpaka tukapata mtoto. Amen.
Nimekuja kushuhudia kuhusu IVF. First, sikuwa najua story ya IVF. Kwanza nilipata mtoto kama kawaida, but nilikuwa nimetafuta kwa muda nikapata. After 7 months, mtoto akapasa. Nikajaribu kutafuta tena but sikupata. Sasa sister yangu akakuja kwetu, akatuuliza mbona nilikuja tena. Sasa hapo ndio tukamwelezea shida yetu, akatuambia kuna solution, akatupeleka kwa Cecilia. Cecilia akatuonyesha, akatuambia kuna procedure kwanza tutapimwa, alafu tujue shida ni nini. Tukafanyiwa HST, tukapatikana chips zangu zimeblock. Sasa hapo ndio nianza procedure. Lakini before hapo sasa ndio nianza procedure nikaambiwa itafanyiwa, it was either one block ama IVF, IVF yenye naona ukweli nitapata mtoto. Sasa hiyo wakati ndio mambo yakapasa katika nyumbani. Ndio tulimzika tukakaa kidogo na nisa ya kudada tunaenda IVF. Nikaanza nikamwambia daktari yangu. Sasa nilimwambia, akaniambia wewe kwenda huko wewe. Unajua watoto wanazaliwa kwa bila masikio, kusikia miguu hawana, wanatoa usi. Sasa sikumwelezea nikamwambia nikachukua tu kitu nikarudi. Hata hapo nikaanza hiyo safari sasa. Na nikakuja nikabarikiwa. Sasa mimi nilijaribu mara moja na nikapata mtoto watu ndio huyo, P1. Sasa mtoto akakufa. Sasa ndio huyo. Son boy.
Nasema Cecilia ubarikiwe sana. Nikusika mkono. Jua sister yangu karibu usaidia watu. Hiyo ni sister yangu kama mama yako ndio amenilea. Wakati alikuja kwetu akapata machozi yake tukafamilia, tukamwelezea shida zetu, akatuambia kuna rafiki yake anaitwa Cecilia, ataenda aongee naye, alafu baadaye atatuambia. Lakini akaniambia pesa mingi sio pesa kidogo. Nikasema hiyo pesa mingi na mimi sina kazi natoa hapo. Lakini alienda kuongea na Cecilia, Cecilia akasuluhia kila kitu, na mimi nashukuru. Cecilia amefanya nimekuwa poa. Asante.
Boy child, makofi ya boy child bwana. Karibu. Ana alikuja kaniambia, niko na sister in law what hapo anataka kutupa na brother yangu. Sasa ninataka tumsaidie. Na tukamsaidia and now they are happy couple. They love each other. Wanapendana. Na acha nikwambia alikuwa anamtupa. So ni kuvumilia tu na kupata mtoto. Mambo inaenda vizuri. Makofi yao tafadhali. Thank you. Bless.
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, those are such deep words from a man, Cecilia. Cecilia, umefanya nikakuwa baba. That's deep, eh? Oh man, Cecilia, you have a special room, house in heaven. You know, when the rest of us have what we'll have, you'll have extra facilities, mansion. Well, at this point, before our Washiniwas come and quickly address us, and I know that they really sacrificed their time to be here, and they also have, I think, they have busy days tomorrow and in the weekend. So before our honorable members come to address us, we have 2 clips that we want to play. You've heard the testimonies about people who've gone through IVF and these fertility procedures. Despite them being expensive, they've found a way somehow. And some of how this way is made is through you and I. So tonight, for the first time in these celebrations of Fertility, World Fertility Day in Kenya, we want to feature 2 people who need support. And here and now, we're going to open the opportunity through a pay meal and a stage for us to offer this support. And if we can, we'll support both. If we can't, at least we'll put a seat for one of them. So right now, fix your eyes to the screens and listen to these 2 stories.
My name is Agnes Mugoro Mugita. I'm from Muranga, but currently live in Thika. I'm here to talk about my fertility journey. I am 34 years old. I've been in marriage. My name is Agnes Mugoro Mugita. I'm from Muranga, but currently live in Thika. I'm here to talk about my fertility journey. I am 34 years old. I've been in marriage for 10 years, since 2014. I've been married for 10 years, but with 4 different people, which have been rejected because of lacking kid. The first guy mwenye tulipatana na yeye, hakuwa ananisaidia kwa mandawa, which alisema they are very expensive, and I decided to do it for myself. Zenye sikusaidika, I've been medication here in Thika. Nimekuwa nikitembea kwa all gynecologists in Thika. I've been seeking for medication in Kisii, Embu, Thika, but currently I've been in Nairobi. But last year I met Cecilia kwa TV, Kameme TV, and I just listened to her. She talked about fertility, and I decided to pick her contact, and I contacted her. Akaniambia kuna work akonayo 2021, and he asked me to join, at least I can meet opportunity ya kuongea with other gynecologists. I went to Nairobi, we had a walk, and we went for a lunch. After that lunch, I met one of the gynecologists. I talked to him. He gave me an appointment. Na nikaenda kwake. He gave me medications. He sent me for a test, which were very painful. I did HSG, hormone, nikatestua all hormones, nikampelekea, but he told me that according to them, I have no problem. I only need to take hormone medications. Akaniandikia, nikaenda nikazikunywa, nikafuatilia, like after 3 months narudi, after 3 months narudi. Zenye hazikusaidia. Kutoka hapo nikaenda Medihill Isiri. 2 years nikakuwa nikifuatilia, naenda clinic, napewa ndawa, nafanyiwa scan, but hazikusaidia. Kutoka hapo nikaenda Medihill, Parklands, kwenye nimekuwa currently. I've been seeking medicine there. Pia huko nikatumwa scan, nimekuwa nikitumwa scan every time nikienda for a gynecologist before any medication. Wananituma the same scan, but they find the same thing, that it's like I have no problem. I only need fertility medicine, which are very expensive. Nimezikunywa zote. Nimekuwa block, nimechukua loan here and there. Daktari akaniambia shinda yangu vile ameona, the only thing itanisaidia kama nahitaji mtoto ni IVF. Kuna daktari mwingine bado wa Savannah alikuwa ameniambia about IVF, last year but one, which I find it's very expensive and I couldn't afford. As much as I needed the kid, I couldn't afford the money. But I find a message from Fertility Kenya in my phone. Ikasema on 2nd November, utakuwa na fundraising for one person. And that is why I tried my best to be here. At least nione kama nitapata hiyo opportunity. At least ni hold my baby. Nisikie tu kama wamama wengine, kama wasichana wengine. Because this thing is very hectic. It's really bothering me, both spiritually, financially. Unaona hata Mungu ni kama amekusahau. Nasikia ni kama hata mambo ya kanisa, ni kama hata kuomba Mungu amekusahau. When it comes to financial, hizi dawa they are too expensive. Unapata unanunua 10 days, unanunua dawa za 30,000 10 days and you need to take them for 30 days. It's very stressing. Hata social, bado unapata marafiki. Ukiwa kwa marafiki, you are not comfortable like your friends are talking about their kids now and then. But you feel outdated,